Welcome, everyone, to our healing panel for Beyond Being Human. I'm Tanys Coughlan, and I'm hosting the panel today. We are so excited to have three amazing guests today. We have Simon Hinton. Hi, Simon. And we have Maureen Edwardson. And we have Sophia Joy. Welcome, everyone. I'd like to have Michael come on first and just give us a little bit of an overview of Beyond Being Human and our philosophy for healing. This is a healing panel. We'll be speaking about healing for the remainder of the show. So, Michael, how do you see healing?
Well, the thing that happened for me when I was thinking about having these amazing healers come on with you, you're also an amazing healer, by the way. Don't forget that. And I was feeling like all the time we talk about personal healing, like one-on-one. But in actual fact, my belief anyway, is that as more and more people get healed on a very deep level, as well as finding inner peace on a very deep level, that it becomes a global kind of thing. And the influence of that has been shown via various mechanisms that it does have an effect. Like when the whole world meditates, there is a decrease in crime and things like that. So the healing that we're talking about is primarily energy healing. And that is obviously a very personal thing, but I'd like to explore more about how the planet can get healed as well, or the population of the earth, let's put it that way, can get healed. And thank you all for coming, and thank you all for watching, those who catch us after the event. And we've got a few really great guests here as well. They're going to come in later at the Q&A session. And onwards, Tanys. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you, Michael, for setting the stage. And so for this discussion, what I'd love to do is just ask each of you, first off, what does healing mean for you? And we'll take a few moments and hear from each of you. What does healing mean for you? Melissa, let's start with you.
Well, thank you, Tanys. I'm delighted to be here. And healing for me is so many different things. It's multifaceted. This is something that I have really aligned my life to over the last 30 years. I've been a healer, and now I'm an naturopathic doctor and a founder of a healing modality. And I've worked with thousands of people over the last 3 decades, really looking at, well, what does healing mean? And healing is different from curing. Let me define what I mean by that. So curing is an absence of symptoms, right? So a person can have an experience where they have an absence of symptoms, and that could be through taking medication, or for instance, a cancer patient going through chemo, or it could be, being on a specific amino acid protocol and all of a sudden their symptoms decrease. That can look like healing, but actually the deepest levels of healing is to look at what really needs nurturing, especially the core of whatever ails them. So an example of this is a person who has extreme insomnia because they have an intense trauma that is moving through their body. So they can take all sorts of different supplements to sleep, but until they address that deepest level of the trauma, whatever that is, that could be a present life, past life, familial, inherited trauma. When they address the core of it, that's when they receive the biggest level of healing. And whether it's, looking at the core or the multifacets of what I'd call the ingredients that is causing this dis-ease inside of them, the primary thing in healing is that we are addressing what needs to be addressed at the deepest levels. So there is a powerful transformative journey inside of them. Not only do their cells and their biochemistry shift, but also their energy becomes more activated. They embody more of their spirit. They embody more of their light, their highest level of genome expression comes online, and they literally transform into a higher vibration. And I'll give you one more example of this. This is something that I've seen many times. Healing also doesn't look how we always think it looks, because I've had many people who have gone through the process of shifting out of this body, and their spirit and soul was complete in this body, whatever disease state they were going through, but they knew that they were complete, and they went through an incredible transformative initiatory journey in moving toward completing in this body. And at the end of their life, they were in this incredible high level of healing, as well as high level of integration of who they really are in that evolutionary state. And they take that healing with them as they leave this body and go on into their soul's journey. So the one thing I just want to say at this point is that it's not a black or white perspective. Healing really is beyond the linear mind. It's really moving into this quantum field of who we really are, and the fact that we are both human and divine, and bringing that down into our body. And what does that mean in our life at that time?
Yes, that's beautiful. Thank you, Melissa.
Thank you.
Maureen. Maureen, what does that healing mean to you?
Yes. What does healing mean to me? First of all, even when I did healing work, I have never called myself a healer. I believe that we all are our own healers. So I see myself more as a facilitator of wholeness. It seems to me that we have spent so much of our lives and spend so much of our lives healing and looking for wholeness. And then what? We get better and then we die. What's the point? I believe that we're here for joy, to feel good. Like Wayne Dyer always said, we need to clear the rust off the line to source so that we can feel good. And good is just God with an extra O. So I believe what we're all looking for and looking to remember is the God within, and be that. And as Melissa says, integrate that. We are here, I believe, to integrate spirit into this dimensional reality and really claim our greater cosmic selves, free to be, to create, to co-create, to create heaven on earth, which is why we have really been here. And healing can be said to be the path to remembering who we really are. And that's where my next level of work is getting a lot more attention, human redefined. So who are we really? That is the question. So uncovering so that we can shine and we can be the gift that we are to the collective of that oneness consciousness, remembering that we are not separate from anything. So reclaiming wholeness, I believe, is the path that we are yearning for, to keep remembering and bringing ourselves back together, whether that's a quantum soul retrieval, whether it is bringing back all of any disconnected parts of our own selves into wholeness. There are new, faster ways of accessing that, which is exciting. We are in very exciting times, as much as we see the breakdown all around us. That is purposeful and necessary in order for us to create something more aligned, something more centered in the truth, the greater truth of who we truly are as human, as God, man. Q is another word for God. So we truly are God, man. And we are, I believe, in this lifetime, especially in this time of the great shift of the ages, here in order to remember, as I keep saying, and to reveal the magnificence that is who we are. So it's very exciting, as I said, to have this exponential opportunity for fast tracking our freedom, our sovereignty, to be the true choosers of our personal reality. Having studied for many years with Nassim Haramein of the Resonance Science Project, Unified Field Science shows us that we are the center of our own personal universe. So it doesn't feel much like we command very much, if anything at all, sometimes at certain points in our life. So it's about what Rumi said, do not seek love, seek instead to remove the barriers to love. And that perhaps is what we could call healing, coming back into center of being the truth of who we are.
Beautifully said, Maureen. Thank you so much for that. It really is about getting to know our true self, isn't it? In many aspects. Simon, what does it mean to you? What does healing mean to you?
Well, healing for me is an alchemical process. Al comes from Aleph Lamed, God. It's a process of returning to unity in a very generic sense. But I agree with Melissa. I mean, there's many facets of it, and curing isn't healing. For me, the healing process is about recalibration. So it's about bringing broken, fractured, splintered, separated, discombobulated bits together, back to restructure things that are broken or damaged or whatever, back to wholeness. It's also an expansion and a return to the oneness of the universe as well. So I'm very connected with the quantum field. My work has been for a long, long time, decades, about working consciously with the quantum field. And the idea of the quantum field is it's non-temporal, it's God, Godhead, it's above the world of separation and manifestation. And the great work for me, the great healing work, is about returning back to that as a pure, unadulterated expression of divine flow. So when we are broken and we're separated and we're fractured and we're suffering, we're not that perfected expression as yet. We have the potential to be. The work that I do is to always help people return back to that unity, back to that or towards that expression of the divine, so that we recognize ourselves as complete. And when we are complete and we do manifest the quantum body, as I call it, or the hidden God, then we can transcend the polarity of manifestation, which in its more crude forms creates the suffering. It's the separation or the illusion of it that creates the separation. Of course, love is healing. Love is about the energy that facilitates union. So for me, love is the key, and love in combination with will to return back to that place that is no place, that time that is no time, and to recognize ourselves as an expression of the infinite. So healing really is all about going towards that. And of course, there are many different levels of that expression. Sometimes it, healing a tennis elbow, or it can be healing an emotional problem, or it can be healing a relationship, a piece of pain. And all of those pains are caused by the separation. When we move beyond that limitation, that separation, then we start to feel unified again. We start to feel at one with ourselves again. And so it's guiding people and helping people to feel and sense and know that actually they're not alone. They're not alone in the world. They're all one, actually. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you. That was wonderful. So I'm going to ask each, we are honored to be in a room full of healers who have developed their own healing modalities. So I would love to hear from each of you. What does that mean for you? What does it mean for the people that you support? How do you bring that forward into the world? Your unique healing gifts that you have. Let's start with Maureen, please.
There was a big bang outside my door. And so could you please reiterate that question?
Yes, that we are all, you have all got your own healing modalities, and those healing modalities are a beautiful way for you to bring that into the world. And I'm just wondering how do you do that as an individual, and how do you support others in terms of clients or others that you come across?
Thank you so much. This is the 35th year of the work that I have developed called Inner Resonance Technologies, IRT for short. And it's a quantum fast track to our wholeness without having to figure anything out, without having to relive or know anything, because everything is already known in our field. One of my greatest supporters of my work is Dr. Bruce Lipton. I'm very grateful to be on his website, and he has endorsed the front cover of my book, Your Magical Evolutionary Code Unleashed, The Science of Inner Resonance. So it's really remarkable what we have access to when we get out of our own way. What creates the fast track is that IRT, rather than address the body and the symptoms, is to go direct to the field, the quantum field, where everything is possible, everything already exists. As Dr. Bruce Lipton says, we're all out of our minds because the mind is a field all around us. And that is what our radio human body selves is responding to. So there is a different level of understanding that the memory in the body is more of a receptor memory, so that we address the signal in the field where the outcome is getting expressed. The body is a communication device that gives us an experience. What I found and discovered is that when I can support people in the technique I developed, which basically is so simple that it can underwhelm you. Because when we know that there's a level of complexity built in already to our system that is beyond incredible, that there necessarily is a simplicity of access on the other side of that complex programming. Our brain, our body is incredible. We are regenerating 300 billion cells a day. We create a whole new skeleton every 3 months, a whole new liver every 6 weeks, and on and on and on it goes. When we can access our quantum superconscious cells, that takes care of our conscious, our subconscious programming, and the buildup of what I call static and resistance in our field that prevents and limits our ability to receive the signals of our magnificence, of our true selves, of our God selves, of our inherited potential. What I find when I take people through this very simple protocol, it is a formula. It's a formula of questions that are designed to wake up and catalyze that part of you that knows everything, that's part of the oneness already. So then we allow, there's nothing to do, nothing to figure out, goes beyond the conscious mind, beyond the subconscious, into that quantum superconsciousness where everything is possible. The conscious mind processes at 40 bits per second, and it's responsible for 5% of our overall awareness. When we approach things from a conscious level, then it takes a little bit longer. Affirmations are wonderful. However, there's that resistance from the 95% of the program. And what I've discovered is that when you clear the garbage can out, there you go, ready to rock and roll. Happens very quickly. People have healed broken bones in 10 minutes doing this protocol. because as Simon says, we are all alchemical. The body is an energy machine, and it's a quantum supercomputer, in fact. I love that Dr. William Brown of the Resonance Science Academy of Nassim Haramein's Unified Field Physics teaches that the body has trillions of cells, depending on what teacher you listen to. Bruce Lipton talks about 50 trillion cells. William Brown speaks of 100 trillion. Trillions are good enough for me. And an amazing gobsmacking fact of the body in and of itself, which is no slouch at all. The body is a miracle machine. Trillions of cells, each neuron in that trillion cellular system has 100,000 potential connections. Each one of those 100,000 connections has 85 billion wormholes into other dimensional realities. Wow. This is what we're breathing infinite source energy into? What's the problem? All the static, all the old unresolved issues of trauma and pain, all of the programming of limitation, that goes back galactically, actually. And what's so wonderful is that I've discovered that, yes, IRT can layer things off because we are ready for what we're ready at any given time. However, IRT allows more to be ready because there's nothing that needs to come through the conscious awareness, nothing that needs to get processed through the body, because the signal in the field is getting addressed directly. And when the signal in the field of old past trauma and old beliefs that no longer grow corn, that are no longer the truth if they ever were, everything then shifts into a different receptivity, a different expression of wholeness. We're time travelers. Some of the ways that I help people when it's appropriate, if they've had some injury, perhaps, especially 20 years previously, and they're still suffering back problems or limitations, and that's just the way it is. We expect there's nothing more that we can do about it, or it's just aging. By the way, there's no program for aging in the body either. And when we clear all of the old programming and we can redo history by going back into an accident, retelling the story within the context of the agreements of IRT, inner resonance technologies, that allows everything to be on the table simultaneously because everything is happening everywhere all at once, then more is possible. And then the body is listening, because the body responds to what we tell it, and it's always listening. So when we tell the body a new story, it responds as if, which is kind of a fun little trick to know. And if something happens immediately and I was with a friend and we were looking for a restaurant in between sessions at a conference downtown Vancouver. So we were walking down the street quickly looking in, oh, is this the food I want? Is this the place where I have a seat? And quickly, the decisions were made. And my friend walked out so fast that she forgot to open the door and whacked her forehead into the glass. So I said, go back and, go in and out of that door 3 or 4 more times and just redo that program. So as a result, the big egg that was forming on her forehead completely disappeared. No pain and no incident, as though it never happened. So we have incredible creative powers with the power of our consciousness. And as we clear all of our previous limitations and build up, then we have greater access to our creator, co-creation beings that we are. And also then we get to come together and play and bring all of our golden threads. I just love that IRT plays so well with others. However, it clears everything that is resistant and static in the field, giving every other modality opportunity for greater efficiency. There's a couple of definitions of resonance that I totally love. And one in an electrical circuit is that zero resistance allows maximum flow of energy. Isn't that beautiful? There's another definition of resonance in physics, that there is a range of frequencies that are harmonic that always entrain up. Did you know that nothing ever brings us down except our own inner response or reaction, which is always ours, always ours. Doesn't matter how horrific someone else is and how bad they are to us and how wrong they are. We have that ability to clear whatever our reaction is so that we can show up with love, with compassion, and non-violent communication, so to speak, and soothe that response to give it nothing to fight back against. This has two results. Either the person will agree and be entrained up, or they will be like oil and water, or a situation, a job, a condition, whatever it might be that you're up against. So like Buckminster Fuller said, there's not a great value in going up against anything that you don't want. The solution is to create something new and by resonance, attract everyone up into that next level of potential. So I'd have to say that how I help people, I help myself, and I help others is with this very simple protocol that is a fast track that allows more to happen exponentially and only what is ready for that individual and for myself at that time. I do nothing to someone or for anyone, even though I have been an energy worker in the past. I facilitate the questions that each individual then wakes up their own potential, their own catalyzing superconscious quantum self to do all the heavy lifting and let the body just relax and enjoy. It's like a super duper defrag antiviral program where you just get to download the program, tick off the choices, then sign off on the licensing agreements, press the enter button, and just go on holiday in your mind somewhere or have a nap. Isn't that beautiful? And remarkable miracles happen. And I'm not sure how much time I have left here, Tanys, but I'd love to share the miracle of my own heart this last year in 2024. So you'll give me the sign if I need to wrap that story up. So I'll finish with this story as an example of how quickly we can heal with the miraculous quantum supercomputer that we have with infinite consciousness. And I was in the Whole Movement conference in Ibiza, Spain last year, end of May, and the Saturday night before the Sunday conclusion day, I surprised everyone, and most particularly myself, by having a heart attack. So to cut this story short, there I was, whooshed off after turning away 2 ambulances, because I'm a healthy person, haven't seen a doctor for 35, 40 years. I'm healthy. I'm 75 and grateful and happy to be alive. And I was shocked. So I took that ability to respond, that responsibility. People said, oh, you must have been afraid. And I said, no, fear is just frantic effort to avoid responsibility. I was able to take my ability to respond and do my own inner work in the ICU. In the meantime, I had support, didn't I? Everyone came out from the conference rooms on Sunday morning, sent me healing prayers and love. And I was so grateful to know how receptive I was, because we can send healing prayers and love to many people that we care about. And they have varying effects based on their soul's journey, based on their readiness. And I knew it wasn't my time. I'm just getting started at the age of 75, and I have a whole brand new heart to prove it. And I'm a medical miracle, because 3 days later, they were looking for the 70% block. The first artery was 100% blocked. Wow, that was a surprise. They put 2 stents in. Second artery, 70%. Normally there's 2 weeks in between those procedures. 3 days later, they're looking for it, can't see it. 4 days later, the head honcho cardiologist, no, he couldn't see it. And he was a little annoyed about that. So Friday morning, they just took things into their own hands and threw me onto the operating table once again. A week plus early, found there was 0 blockages, that my heart was totally whole and healthy. And isn't that beautiful? So now I'm working on my second 75 years, and truly grateful to be alive and fully on my purpose, passionately in my mission to wake up people to the magnificence that we all carry within. So thank you. I think I'll finish with that.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Maureen. Let's hear from Simon now. Simon, how does
Hi.
your healing modality work
Well,
for
first of
you?
all, I just want to say I really enjoyed that sharing, Maureen. And I'm just going to say we share my healing modality and your healing modality, although I don't really feel like I'm just a guardian of it, is harmonic resonance healing. And the common word is resonance. So everything in the universe is frequency, right? So everything in the manifest universe is frequency. When you get to the quantum field, you transcend frequency, you just have the seed of frequency. So the colorless ray of the Paranatman light and the white light of Metatron are the potentiality of what we can be. So the way my healing system works, I'm basically a Gnostic, okay? And Gnosis is divine knowledge. So the stuff that I've kind of co-created this, although essentially the key elements were given to me from upstairs. So I don't claim ownership, just a refining process to make it acceptable and more understandable for people, because these are complex subjects and yet their principles are simple, okay? So basically what I do is I work to expand the light body. Okay, so when people talk about ascension, what do they actually mean? Because I heard that word bandied around for many years, but without really much clear definition of what it meant. What it basically means is the opening of the light body. Okay, so the way that I saw it was there was 144 essential light bodies in the singular for the average human being that are potential. And so what I do is I open up the field, okay, open up the light body, because what I realized is the subtler light bodies store trauma. Okay, they store trauma and pain and suffering and karma. Karmic imprints, I call them. And karmic imprints are coagulations, that is stuckness basically in the field of unresolved stuff, things that we haven't cleared from this life, past lives, etc. And my job as a healer, okay, is to help people, train people to dissolve, collapse and neutralize those coagulations. So one of the things I share with people, and I've taught many people, thousands over the years, is the healing process is not one where I'm going to come in and rescue you. Okay, I'm never going to do any rescuing. I'm never going to get embroiled in your stuff. Tempting, although it is at times, I avoid that like the plague. Okay, what I do is entrainment. Now, entrainment is not that common a used word, but it essentially means when we hold a particular frequency with clarity, we radiate that energy out. And for somebody who is open to receive, they too can be catalyzed to move into that frequency. So entrainment is basically, I facilitate, I enable, and I catalyze. And I do this through activating the heart center. So it's not through the cerebral cortex. It's not through the thinking process of my personal experiences, although they may be useful. It's through open-heartedness. So I work very much with the Magdalena energy. And I call it the Magdalena because a lot of people know about and talk about Mary Magdalene, who, in my opinion, was an expression or an avatar of a much greater energy, just like Yeshua was an expression of a much greater energy called Christa consciousness. And the idea is that these two great infinite principles of the divine feminine and the divine masculine, they manifest further down into the manifest worlds, into our own light bodies. So everything we're doing is a microcosm of the great universe. So with Gnosis, we connect to that through the heart. We don't connect to it through the mind, okay? The heart is basically a gateway, but for the heart to work, it has to be properly activated, okay? So we have the heart chakra, which has 12 petals. We also have a high heart chakra, which is the feminine aspect of that heart. And the high heart chakra connects to something called the endocrine system, which is very, very important for the ascension process, because the endocrine system is like a gateway that connects all the different light bodies and enables the hormones to change their functionality to facilitate a spiritualization or an increase in the frequency or the vibration of the light body. Sounds a bit complex, sounds a bit woo-woo to some of you. I apologize if it does, but the practical benefits are this. We can learn to open up our field. And in that process of opening up, we're going to lose stuff that shouldn't really be there, but it's stuck because we're operating on a lower frequency. As the frequency increases, just like on a roundabout that goes faster, the centrifugal force pushes out things that aren't supposed to be there. So similarly with the light body, as the frequency increases, as the heart is opened and activated, so things that are stuck, that aren't supposed to be there, that aren't really in our greatest interest, can be loosened and lost. And then we come into our true nature. I call this the katharos nature. The purification and opening process is the key word of this age. An opening, an activation, a release of things that aren't working, and a movement into our true nature. We call this the Maya Varupa body. It's the divine blueprint, which all of us have. And what that means is we're like an acorn, okay? We are an acorn, and in that acorn, it contains all the seeds of all the future forests. We have the potentiality as human beings to be gods. And when I say that, I mean an expression of the divine Godhead, a fractal, if you like. We have that potential. And what I do with people is through a process, through my harmonic resonance healing system, I've learned and developed a process to open the heart in a unique way. And what the masters showed me, in particular when they visited me in 2013, because I have continual communication with higher intelligences which reveal all of this stuff to me, most of it anyway. And I work with what they show me, and I put it into a format that is accessible to people. So what they showed me was when the heart really opens, we cleanse and we purify, okay? The heart has a twofold functionality. One, the Christ consciousness, we can receive and reflect everything in the universe, okay, in a non-judgmental, non-polarized way. And via the power of love, kinesthesia, we can actually activate the quantum body or the hidden God. So the heart is both a reflector of all that is and a gateway to all that is not. And all that is not is the unmanifest quantum field. So through the heart center, with the activations that I give to people when they do the courses with me, through the heart center, we can learn to draw consciously from the quantum field and manifest better, greater realities. That is the healing process. So we can learn when we build a narrative with our field, when we open up, when we liberate ourselves from trauma and fear and pain and false beliefs and negative thinking and all the stuff out there that tries to keep us down, when we really claim that sovereign status and move with clarity and will and love and openness, we literally become the greatest version of ourselves. And this is what the ascension healing grand process is. It's an awakening, it's an activation, it's an opening, and it's a realization. And all of those things, for me, form part of the healing continuum. Opening, cleansing, purifying, recalibrating, ameliorating, those things that aren't correct into a form of alignment to unity consciousness. So when I help people, what I try and do, first of all, is find out their story. I want to know what's happened to them. What kind of things have they experienced in their life? And invariably, I hear stories of, you know, maybe somebody's repeatedly been abused, or they have a repeated issue with abundance, or they've been betrayed a lot, or they have a certain type of physical issue, or they're always breaking their leg, or whatever it might be. I sort of look for patterns, try and understand. It's like a maze, like a puzzle. I try and understand the story. When I understand the story, that begins to furnish me with insight into where they need help. And so the help that I give them is not about, I'm going to heal you. It's not like that. It's, let me show you how you can heal yourself. Let me show you things that you can do to make yourself better. And I'll give you a little push, like pushing a car, getting it started. I'll give you a little push. I'll give you a little lift. But ultimately, I want you to be self-determinant, because this is the age of sovereignty. It's the age of Aquarius. Okay, it's the queen of space, and it's the age of Leo. Okay, the other complementary polarity. Okay, and the age of Leo is the kingly man, the sovereign status, rising up and claiming our true power, our true nature, okay, and living in alignment with that true will as an expression of the divine. When we claim that, we move beyond the old paradigm of fixing. Some people come to me, they want to get fixed. I say, no, not going to fix you. I'll show you how to fix yourself. I can give you tools to help you help yourself. And I'll make you feel better, and we'll create a great energy in the room. But ultimately, I want you to take responsibility. I want you to claim your power. I want you to be a sovereign being. I want you to rise up as that Leo kingly man and learn to heal yourself. And we all can. We all can. Not just physically, like when we cut ourselves and our blood heals, but we can heal ourselves emotionally. To do that, Tanys, it's important to build a narrative with our body. So I encourage people, first of all, to open, to cleanse, to release negative thoughts, feelings, emotions, and behavior patterns that aren't supporting them, and then to build a flow of communication with every cell, molecule, and atom and subatomic particle of their being, their liver, their kidneys, every part of them. You can communicate with yourself, okay? And when you build that narrative, when you really are in alignment with it, it's incredible, because you get everything, just the lights go on, the illumination goes and grows and goes and grows. And that's really what I attempt to help people with, to show them that by activating their heart center, by moving beyond the mind, the limitations of the cerebral cortex, they can connect with something far greater than anything we've been taught at school, or anything their parents taught, or any of the programs that have limited us. We can move into a different type of human, the type of human that Christ talked about, because he said, ye will do greater things than me. Okay, Christ was just an example. He just showed what's possible with activated divine DNA, the 12 strands of DNA. He showed what's possible with love. Okay, and that's what I encourage people to show. We can go much further than you could ever imagine. But you've got to start somewhere, and I start with the heart. The heart is the seat, okay? Opening the heart, stepping outside of judgment into love, into kindness, into compassion. We can create the peaceful world that we all really yearn for. And so that's how I operate. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you, Simon. Melissa, how do you do?
Well, first of all, I just want to say I'm very honored to really both hear from you, Maureen, and Simon. The image that keeps on coming up in my mind is that, we're all a diamond, and that we're working with different facets. Like, there's so much that both of you said that just lit me up. I was like, yeah, me too. Yeah, that's right. And so I see you both, and thank you for all that you have done to step into your power in that way. So, my sense is to start with a story, because stories really engage us in so many different ways, and it's really my own story of how I got to where I was. I've been a naturopathic doctor for 24 years, a healer for 30 years. I've been really sitting with, what does it mean? What does it mean to heal, and where am I with that? And I've navigated many different realms and many different avenues connected to that. But I really started asking that question very intensely in 2008, when my life completely fell apart. I was a director of a college program. The college closed. I was in a marriage. The marriage ended. In the United States, 2008, our finances crashed, ended up having to go bankrupt. So everything just got pulled out from under the rug again and again and again. And then what happened is that I had already previously been having some very intensive, very difficult, traumatic memories arise, both from this lifetime and past lifetimes. And it just got even more intense. And I felt like I was drugged down into thousands of years of patriarchal violence, reliving it inside of my body. And I tried everything you can imagine to feel better, because I was having intensive PTSD from these past life memories, as well as a lot of anxiety, even anxiety attacks. And so most healers had no idea how to really, really work with this past life energy, or what to do with it. And very often things would maybe get a little stabilized, and then I'd get pulled back under, because I'd be reliving the memory again through breath work, or through this or through that process they led me through. So I finally got to the place where I knew that I couldn't find this outside of myself. And I really dove super deep into my spiritual practice. I've been a meditator for over 30 years, and I knew that I needed to dive in. I needed to fully surrender. So I did, got down on my knees many, many times, just broken open in sobs. I can't do this. I can't, show me how, because I can't do this. I'm a healer. Please, I just surrender, you know? So what ended up happening is a couple of months after I really, really deeply surrendered, I had a really bad flu with a very high fever. And as I was just coming down from that, you know, it was almost like a weak flu. My fever was just starting to come down a little bit. I was awakened in the middle of the night with a vision, a full-on vision of Yeshua, Jesus, and Mary Magdalene there. And I was told, it's time for you to remember who you are, what you came here to remember, and then share it with others. And with those words, I knew and I could feel we are all one. We are all connected into this field. And I knew that I was completely open to whatever it was that I was to remember, but my linear mind had no idea what this was, but I could feel it in my heart. I knew that they were there. I could smell the roses in the room. It was so powerful. It was life-changing for me. And so one of the things they told me is that you're going to be going through initiation. We're going to recommend that you do these certain things, like meditate for a long time every day, no alcohol, no this, no that, you know, all these different, like the no's that you can actually connect to the vertical channel. So what ended up happening a few days later is that Mary Magdalene and Magdalena energy started coming to me and teaching me this, the essence, the quintessence of this modality that I now teach in the world. And the essence of what she taught me, which seems very simple, but I'm going to really expand on it as we go, is that when we connect to the presence, the stability, the power, the love that our higher consciousness has, and our higher consciousness is connected to with divine connection, right? It is literally a conduit of divinity moving down inside of us. When we bring that into the multiple essence of our body, both the physical body, the energetic body, the emotional body, you know, the overall field of the body, when we bring that in, that divine presence that we are already has the ability to meet any density, any contraction, whatever it is. We don't necessarily even need to know the story. Sometimes maybe there's an essence of the story that we need to know, but really what we really need to do is to bring it in a very specific way that's really held, so that we can be in presence, so that we're not pushing, we're not forcing, we're in this organic flow, we're not in the linear mind, we're actually just holding this divine presence here, whatever this is. This could be a past life trauma that's 2,000 years old, right? Or it could be a trauma that's only 10 years old. When this trauma actually trusts the field, it opens and it says, here is my deepest wound. Please help me. And when that happens, when that trust occurs, the divine wants nothing more than to fully engage and to transform the energy, the density that's there, so that this contraction that has been ruling your life subconsciously and unconsciously for however long it's been there dissolves. The energy of it dissolves. If there's a specific memory that you need to understand, that will stay, but the energy of it dissolves. And so what I discovered is that through my own experience, all of these contractions from all of this intense trauma that I had been living with dissolved, 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 dissolved. And I just kept on going deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper into some very intense places inside of me that were beyond this lifetime, that were very, very difficult. And from that experience, literally in the deepest places of my being, I felt, knew, sense the Divine Mother's voice arising from within me. And she said, I am here and I have always been here. I am here in every single being. We are one. And I'm standing with you. I've never left you. And so from that experience, my life was fully transformed. Not only did I now, prior to this, I was thinking like, yeah, I think I'm divine. People tell me I'm divine, but I don't really get it, right? But when I got it, when I experienced it, when I knew that the darkness that turned into the light, all of a sudden I knew on some powerful level, this is what they were talking about. This is what I am to remember. This is what I'm to share with the world. So I had a healing practice. I'm, licensed naturopathic doctor. I do all this work with physiology in the labs and all these different things. But I had been a mind, body, spirit specialist for many years. So it was just a natural extension for me to start bringing into my practice. And so I would find that there were so many people that were ready to receive this. And the powerful healings that I was seeing, both on a physical level, autoimmunity, reversing, chronic issues that people had for decades, reversing, life-threatening illnesses, reversing, people feeling much, much better, peaceful, freer, all the density inside of them that had been so holding them down, reversing, dissolving through this alchemical process. However, what I found is that some people still were so ruled by their ego voices, right? The negative voices inside of us. An example, I'm not good enough. I'll never be good enough. Or, I will never be able to manifest my soul's purpose. I just don't have what it takes. Or I'll never be able to have the love that I really long for, right? So those voices very often would come in and clobber this higher healing work that we had just done. Like, one session, a person would be like, wow, I'm so healed, this is amazing. And then they'd come back 2 weeks and they're like, oh, I talked to my mom. And so what I discovered is that what we really needed was a phase 1, which I call Gestalt Somatic Awakening. If you're very familiar at all with parts work, that's what it is. In essence, we're getting to know the negative voice so that we can be in relationship with it, so it stabilizes. That's really what we're doing. We're starting to stabilize the ego, because the ego needs to be addressed here. Otherwise, super simple, super easy to go into spiritual bypass. So we address and stabilize the ego, whatever is going on, so that then people can go into the power of what I call the practice, which is phase 2. In essence, is connecting to your own light. I also am just a facilitator. What I'm really teaching people to do is to connect to their own light, their own truth, their own power within their holy conduit, which activates the heart and activates all of the different, what I call sacred anatomy inside of them as they transform these densities more and more and more, so that they are free to embody their higher self, to embody their divine self. And as this happens, their divinity gets turned on. Not that it's ever not been there. It's always been there, but now they're more consciously aware of it. They're embodying this energy, they're awakening to who they truly are. And then we open the doors to quantum somatic awakening, which is phase 3, which we're working with the malleability of time. We're working with the future time and the past time. We're working with all the different levels of what needs to be addressed on an Akashic level, or what needs to be stabilized so that they can then awaken into both their divine nature while also tending their human nature, right? With love in the center, bringing both home, right? It's literally the path of what I call the internal Heros coming together, the neutralizing the polarities, similar to what you said, Simon, so that we can understand, feel, sense our true clairgnosis, right? So clairgnosis, I love that word. I can't say that I found it, but I use it a lot. So let me define what that means. So gnosis is knowing God, right? Clair is the intuitive understanding, feeling, sensing, and awareness. So we are feeling, sensing, knowing ourselves as a divine inside of us, as it's moving inside of us, as it's awakening inside of us in the core of our soul and the core of our heart, and the core of all the different levels of divine energy inside of us, at the very core of every subatomic particle, especially the God particle, flowing forth the divinity that's always moving inside of us. That literally, it still honors our linear mind, but it takes the linear mind offline more, so that we can live from the higher mind, that we can live from our higher consciousness, that we can live from the beauty of our heart, the beauty of our soul, and manifest our soul's destiny. Because just as already been said, there's a lot that's going on in our world. I'm in the US. There's a lot of people that are talking like, what the heck is going on? And my deepest soul mission is to help people remember who they really are. But first, as Maureen said a moment ago, and I love this quote, do not seek love, seek to transform the barriers to it, from Rumi. So this is what we're doing. We're utilizing love, which is, already been said, utilizing love to alchemically transform the barriers to love so that then we can awaken to the truth of who we really are. And that's what somatic awakening really is.
Beautiful. Really, love plays a huge role in all of this.
Absolutely.
Right? Love of self, love of others, really tapping into that divine essence of love.
I'd like to just add one more thing to that in the self-love piece, as we more fully understand who we really are and transform the barriers to love. Self-love is such an incredible, important foundation, because if we don't have self-love, it's really difficult. Things get all clogged up. And so that's one of the things I work very often with at the very beginning, or wherever a person is at that stage, to bring in that self-love and that activated conduit of divine love that never dies.
Awesome. I'm sure that all of us work with that as well. That self-love is key, isn't it?
Yeah.
So the next question I have is, what do we feel, us, each of you, what do you feel or see the future of healing as being, as we evolve? Simon, let's start with you this time.
Well, I'm blessed to have 3 children. My 2 daughters, one is 24, one is 20, and I have a son who's 18. And both of my daughters are Reiki master trainers. And my son is Reiki level 2, but he's like a crystal child anyway. So they're the future. So the answer to your question is, I see new humans incarnating that are often very, very much more advanced than a lot of the adults around at the moment. The future of healing, it's on a number of levels. On one level, the grand egregore of humanity is going through a phase, and once it hits the next critical mass point, then the natural abilities that we all have will increase both personally and collectively. So I see a rapid combination of expansion that applies both personally and collectively. So the way that healing is going to go, we're moving into an ascension portal. Some of us are already kind of halfway there, right? And the essential portal is an opening. So one of the things I've noticed is people are far more intuitive and psychic in general these days. Okay. People are much more open to spiritual awareness. People are much more doubting of the traditional mainstream media and the things that they've been taught by their parents and grandparents. So people are much more questioning these days. And I think, some of the good things that have come from, the troubles of the last few years, like the COVID pandemic and stuff like that, is people are questioning what they were told to believe, because they can see that actually what they were told and what the reality was is somewhat different. So I think that people are much more open to change, and that opening is increasing with the influx of new people into the human life wave, the birth of new, more advanced children coming in, the crystals, the rainbows, the indigos, etc. They're much more open, and in combination, that is going to accelerate the momentum of humanity's expansion and healing. So that's how I see it in general. And I feel that more and more people, when I first started teaching Reiki 25 years ago, it was like people thought I was a bit strange, a bit odd, a few people would go for it. But now everyone seems to be able to. People who laughed at me will come to be my clients now. People that sort of, didn't take me seriously are on board, and it's amazing. So I never judge anyone. I do my best not to judge anybody. People have got the potential, and people are opening. Even people you would never think would be open to esoteric ideas or concepts are opening up, because they see and they feel the change in the Earth's astral ambience. They feel and they see it. They don't always understand why, but they can sense that things aren't what they used to be. The fossilization, the polarization, the 3D coagulation is all melting away. So we're rising up. and we're getting back to unity, getting back to the Great Mother and the Great Father, as Melissa suggested. Thank you.
Awesome. It's full of hope, right? When we have that energy changing.
It's
Melissa?
already happened. It's already happened.
Awesome. Melissa, please.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Simon, for sharing that. You speak for me, and a lot of things that you've already said. This is exactly how I feel. So, I will start from the present moment. And this is both what we're seeing, what we're feeling, what we're sensing. This is what I'm sensing is coming, that we are in a very intense pressure gradient. Things are shifting. All systems are collapsing. All systems will be collapsing. And what I see and what I sense is that as we go through a pressure gradient, it's like a healing crisis, right? And as we go through any type of healing crisis, we're asked to really connect into what's true for us. What is the barriers that need transforming so that I can really step into love, right? And so my sense of it is that many of us who are on the outer edge or the cutting edge of consciousness and healing, what I'm sensing from my friends and colleagues, and maybe Maureen and Simon, you agree with this as well as Tanys, is that we're being activated to go now, to open the doors now. Now is the time. There's no holding back. And I'm hearing from other people who have, been kind of meandering around, well, my soul mission. And now they're like, it's now, Melissa, how can you help me? I'm like, yes. So much so that I'm actually getting ready to teach a 3-day transformative online event called the Homecoming, so that in March, so that we can transform what's holding us back, so that we can literally move into what our soul mission is. Because my belief is that the more people who are lit up with their soul mission, the more we're going to transform the world. It's I forget exactly who said this, but there's a very famous author who said, soul on deck shines like gold in dark times. And that phrase has been leading me over the last few years, because we are at a pivotal place of evolution, healing, awakening, transformation, transmutation. And again, the more of us who are present with that, the easier this transition is going to be. So my sense of it is that as we stabilize into whatever the transition is going to be in this higher level of consciousness, we're going to have lots of different ways of working with healing. So I'll just bring in one level, like technology is taking off. I was just hearing from a teacher a few days ago, like doctors may even be a thing of the past in a few decades because of AI technology. Well, I hope not, but at the same time, there's going to be a lot of technological advances. But what does that mean regarding healing? The deepest levels, right? So it could, maybe, the surgical techniques or all the different levels of medicines, they're going to help us live longer lives. But the healing that we're talking about is the soul transformative awakening, transforming the densities inside of us so that we can not only have the most aligned bodies, but that we can also bring in this deeper awareness of the divine meeting our humanity, coming together and allowing our bodies, all levels of our bodies, of our beingness, to expand enough to contain higher and higher and higher and higher frequencies of this divinity embodied inside of us, so that not only are we going to live much, much, much longer, but we're going to live in harmonic unity with love, with joy, with the different vibrations that sometimes now we have a hard time, not just manifesting, but sustaining, but also living in this higher vibration of co-creation. Because literally we are this manifestation of divine. And as we not just know this from a linear mind, but we grok it, we live it, watch out. Magic is going to be a normal thing. Moving into who we really are, miracles are going to be a normal thing. And so my sense of it is, whenever people, if you go down the track of tracking the technology, well, let that be that. But also know there is a whole, what we can call organic awakening, ascension, inscension, embodiment process that merging those together, we're going to be in a totally different experience of being human.
Yes. Beyond being human.
That's right. That's right.
Beautiful. Thank you. And Maureen, please.
Or as I would put it, being fully human, being fully our divine God selves. And I just have to say how delighted and joyful I am being on this planet, being on this panel is what I tried to say, being in this team of healers beyond healing. I resonate so completely with Simon and with you, especially Melissa, and what a doorway into my words. And I thank you for being who you are and what you're bringing into this next level of waking up on this planet to our divine inheritance. And I agree, it's like the alarm has gone off at high noon. It is time. Be still and know I am. And I am all that I am. I am that, I am that, I am that. I am part of oneness with all of everything that is in harmony and in alignment and in co-creation. In the next level, beyond healing, which is the topic, really, beyond healing. And I have to warn you that I am a visionary and futurist. So I love to just leapfrog into the next level of our potential. Beyond healing, the future of no longer need for healing is wholeness. And it's not a spiritual bypass. It's not a bypass of anything. It's a fast track, because when we're ready, all good things get attracted and aligned. Everything that is not the truth of us dissolves, gets neutralized from all aspects of who we are, on all timelines, all lifetimes, all dimensions, all frequencies, all of our ancestral inheritance simultaneously. Poof, it's time to do the twinkle of our eyes, like Jesus spoke of. Yeshua and the family are very dear to my evolution and my path as well. So much alignment and resonance here today. So grateful. So the future of healing is to be beyond healing, into wholeness, where we get to dance, we get to play, we get to co-create, be the creative beings, collaborating with each other in joyful, harmonic ways, as you so eloquently spoke of, Melissa. This is the time that we're here for. This is what we signed on for. This is the long straw that we drew to be here at this time, contributing into this next level of the great shift of the ages. It's the most exciting time to be alive. And yes, more technologies, more ways of being and knowing and being our true, authentic, essential selves, our grandest, most magnificent selves, our God selves, is truly here now, more available than it's ever been. And so how to dance with all of that, and how to weave our golden threads together, and dance and celebrate each other's gifts and successes and support each other. I believe that is the future, where we come together and remember that we each have a piece of the puzzle, that we each have the divine, unique contribution, that without us, that diversity would not be complete in the unity consciousness that is oneness, which is only and all love. That is the bottom line, is love. So I think everything's been said, and I just completely and delightfully agree. And here we are. So who are we really? Let's reclaim our grandest cosmic self, our divine love self, operating from our heart with purity of intention, of responsibility for our own journey as we wake up, and keep remembering more and more of our divine essential nature, more of our pure, unadulterated divine selves, because only then will we be able to truly create the garden together and the new earth that is in times here prophesied, already activated, already available to us.
Beautiful. Absolutely. I think, there's so many different energies coming in right now. I know with the modality that I've brought through, it's a galactic energy. And so when we speak about this, we're not just speaking about the energies here on Earth. We're bringing in energies from all over and bringing those in to transform our bodies. I know Nukti will reprogram the cytoplasm within the cells to release the frequency of grief and trauma. And so all of these different modalities, we're all doing the same. We're just doing it in a different framework, and it is all based on love. All of those are based on love and frequency and how we change the energy within and without. Yes, Maureen.
We are love, and it is a return home to love, which is all there is.
Indeed. So I think it's time to take a few questions. I thank you all. I'm just so honored to be able to be here with you all. And Michael's going to introduce a few of our guests. Michael.
Hello again. I don't know, can you see me? Good, because I can't see me. I yesterday reconnected with an old friend, more than a friend, a life coach, a mentor, and his name's Robert Kirby. And I was saying earlier to the panel, I don't think I'd be here, certainly in the way that I am now, if it wasn't for Robert. He took me from a very sort of low self-worth place. I wasn't getting any work and I couldn't really function very well and all sorts of things were going on. And he gifted me a bunch of courses over a couple of years and literally changed my life very dramatically. And he has spent many, many dollars, but also much, much time, many, many years, and he'll maybe talk about this, in learning all of the modalities and eventually, I think, probably the energy healing and the divine love part of it came to the fore. And so, Robert, are you able to come on screen, please?
Yes. Can you see me? Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes. Thank you for that, Michael. It's been a pleasure to support your wonderful life journey. I'm just blown away by the talks. My heart is just singing. I'm just so, I'm 35 years into this same journey, and I left corporate to do this. And a lot of the things I would say would overlap with what the speakers already said. So I won't go into all that detail at the moment. I would just say my blessing is to have mentors. So I have Kathy Martino, who is the most extraordinary body healer in my opinion, of course, I'm biased, and she is the healer of celebrities. They all go to her. They still go to her after 40 years, and she's still alive. Like you would think that she was half her age, which reminds me of the ladies here. And then my mentor for 10 years before he passed was Dr. John Pirakos, the Greek psychiatrist who created bioenergetics in the 50s, and then later on core energetics. So he came out to visit me in Australia, and we built the largest school of body psychotherapy in the world before he died. And I had teachers lining up from all over the world who wanted to come because John's energy was so powerful. And so he really helped me enormously. And then he introduced me to Dr. Valerie Hunt, the scientist from UCLA. I met her. I was only 40. She was 80. And she was telling me about her 10-year plan. She traveled the world. There are graduates from UCLA who gave her $50 million to study energy from a scientific point of view. And UCLA said, you can't publish anything until you research it for 20 years. And they gave her millions. She traveled everywhere, the Far East, all the best healers on the planet, including those in America. And then she came up with her extraordinary books. And she took me on a journey one day in her home in Malibu, a 6-hour journey of past lives. And I come from this very staunch Irish Catholic family in Connecticut, very, very conservative. So I'm like, oh God, this is scary. But Dr. Hunt, she just took me by the hand and said, lie down. And the things that happened on that journey for 6 hours have blown my mind. And that was in 1996. So the speakers here today remind me of my mentors. And then some of you have probably read Hands of Light by Barbara Brennan. So she was also a student of Dr. Priakos, and she just blew my mind because she was a NASA scientist, had a crisis, went to New York, studied with John. Then she says, I'm not going back to NASA. They don't need any more rocket scientists. And she spent her life as this extraordinary healer. So I worked with her. And then, of course, Candace Pert, the scientist who created all, she just blew my doors off. So I feel this balance of women mentors and men mentors. I feel very, very blessed. And also to listen to the stories of what I just heard the last hour or so, blew my doors off. So it was very refreshing, very professional, very deep. Yes, thanks for inviting me, Michael. And I think you're all, I couldn't ask any questions because it was so clear what you shared. I just get it, where you're coming from. So that's all I really have to say for now. So thank you.
Well, thank you. Yes. And I thank you from the bottom of my heart again.
My pleasure.
Back to Tanys.
Did we have another guest that you'd like to introduce, Michael?
Actually, I'm not sure that they're still here.
Okay.
So maybe the panel have questions for each other. Any specifics? By the way, while I've got the mic, I am so grateful that all of you are not stressing, that's the bad word, emphasizing, underlining the divine. Because beyond being human, it goes into all sorts of different corners of all these different topics, and it's all kind of a distraction, because ultimately this project being born from an angelic encounter is all about a divine mission, leading people through all sorts of different pathways. We like to be informed of all these kinds of things, of extraterrestrials and star children and hybrids and all of that weird stuff. But ultimately, it comes back to our individual relationship to the divine, the creator, the source, many, many, many names beyond understanding. And every day, like my heart just opens with that. And thank you all for being here and doing such a wonderful job in the world with this healing. And as I was saying earlier, the healing radiates throughout the whole planet. And with that, I'll pass back to Tanys.
Well, thank you, Michael. And do any of you have questions for each other? Because I think it's a beautiful thing when we can have discussion as well.
Well, I'd like to jump in. And first of all, I just want to say that I, again, am super impressed with everything that you said, Simon and Maureen. I feel like we are so allies on a journey and working very similar aspects of the facets of the diamond, but just doing it in our own unique way based on our own unique experiences. And I also heard, Tanys, that you have a modality, and I really appreciate you being a host here, but it also, you are a healer. So I'm wondering if you would like to share about what healing means to you.
Sure, thank you. Much like what all of you said, it's really about finding that inner connection to the divine, right? And being in the love vibration frequency and connecting to the divine self within. For me, that is the healing. It's about releasing the dense pockets that get stuck in our field. It's about, forgiveness and moving through those past lives. I've had a lot of past life experiences that I've had to heal as well, as you guys have mentioned too. So for me, I do a lot of that kind of work with others as well as with myself, right? I mean, every healer, we all have to be doing our own work at the same time. So I'm a firm believer in that type of thing. I am also just a facilitator. I just move through and give people tools and, help them to use the tools in whatever way suits them. And, I think as a healer, it's important for us to also step into that support, not save. We're not there to save anybody, right? We support with energy. We support with different techniques that we've all talked about. And I think, so for me, healing is really about helping others to achieve their highest vibrational frequency and use that in the world and bring that out in the world. And it's all about, lead with love and let love lead you. I spoke about that at a conference recently, and I think that's not just in business, as I had spoken about it, but also in our own lives. The more we can make decisions out of love instead of out of fear, we will move ourselves forward in this evolutionary process. So for me, that's what healing is stepping into that. So thank you.
Well, I would add my question to you, Tanys, and that would be the second question that you asked us. How do you help people with what you do?
Thank you. I started out in Reiki, so very much sort of in that Reiki realm to begin with, and moved into using other tools. Like, I'm a Celtic shamanic high priestess as well, so I do shamanic work, I do dream journeys, past life regression stuff, all of those things, that we often do. I do a lot of work with the galactic beings at this point, so they certainly come in and guide me. Etheric surgery, I also help with that. So that's and that one I find can be really impactful, because you're just getting rid of that piece, right? That bit of density that you're holding. Let's just take it out and release it, and then we can look at forgiveness and moving forward in the cognitive aspect of those things. So I always say to my clients, we have to look at all three areas, right? We have to look at the physical aspect, we have to look at the mental emotional aspect, and we have to look at the energetics. And I think the energetics is really part of what our mainstream society is just starting to open up to, that's something that we need to look at as we move forward. So I do a lot of different things. I'm also, do with the shamanic work. I certainly do things like, curse removals, that kind of thing. But it's all energy. It's all a healing, right? No matter what kind of thing you're doing, you are, like Simon was saying, the alchemist of our own energy fields. And so all of these different techniques, they're just a way of us to, I'm going to say manipulate, but it's a harsher word. I think the alchemizing is a softer word. Alchemizing these differences in our field that we want to release. So I help people to release that so they can live in love and move forward. And it is true. Our life purpose is super important right now. Stepping into that. So, yeah. Yes,
And
Michael.
what do you feel is the future of healing?
I think we're going to be creating more knowledge around that in public society, in all of the mainstream is going to shift, and we're going to be starting to see many more energy-based healing within the mainstream. I'm thinking we're going to be starting to have that in hospitals much more commonly. I think that in the 12 years, 15 years I've been doing this, it's gone from me saying I do Reiki and people going, what? To, oh, tell me more. And so for me, I think the increase in the popularity, the acceptance that energy is really a big part of who we are and the vibrational frequency. And I find that the more we can bring, I want to say, the science-based knowledge and meet it with the spiritual-based knowledge, the more we can bridge all of that. And we really are, that is another role that we play as healers. We bridge the divine with the physical in everything that we do. And I think that's the other piece that we will step more into in the future. Michael.
So, yeah, this is a tricky question in a way, but for me, healing is a lot about the soul. I mean, yes, there's body things, but getting to know the intricacies of your soul or the many etheric bodies, astral, etc., all of those make up our whole being. A while back, I had a friend who was incredibly spiritual, and he went through his own healing crisis and suddenly turned his back and said, I don't believe there's a soul. I don't believe there's God. I don't believe this, that, Alice Bailey's all bump and all of that. My question is, what would you say to someone who's lost sight of their soul?
Maureen, please.
I would say that on one level, it doesn't matter that he's forgotten and perceived a disconnection from his soul, that is always truly there. And so my approach with the work that I do with IRT would to ask him to be open to giving opportunity to do a general shift of whatever may be in his background to soothe his journey into whatever his next level of realizations might be. And then what I experience is a spontaneous next level of awareness and insight that goes beyond all of the mind chatter and the disappointment, the disillusionment, the description, the definition of what a soul might be. And for whatever the reasons were that he turned his back on that, I would invite him into presence of what brings him joy and bring him back, allow him to bring himself back into that place of not knowing, which often is a new space to recreate ourselves from. That's just what occurs to me.
Awesome. Yeah, I would say I would try to wake them up to some of their awareness in terms of their abilities as well, because we all have access to clairsentience, clairvoyance, clairaudience. I think for me, when people can realize that there are other things out there through those senses, they can start to look inward a little bit more and understand our multidimensional self, because we are multidimensional as well as all of these other things that are around us that are in the higher dimensions as well. Simon, please.
I was going to say one of the most powerful initiations that anyone can have is actually losing belief, funnily enough. And belief is, by the nature of belief, it tends to define and limit, actually, which is paradoxical because belief is a fantastic tool in magic. But of course, when we choose one thing from the quantum field, we're choosing not to choose other things. If you go to a bar and you have a vodka as opposed to a beer or water, you're choosing one thing above another. So I'm saying this sort of like lightheartedly, but it sounds to me that that particular individual was going through a dark night of the soul. And certainly if anyone's gone through the mystery school traditions, which I know you have, Tanys, it's like when you get to the Majesta Templari and you cross the abyss, you have to lose everything. You actually put everything, so to speak, on the bonfire, even the holy guardian angel that led you, that you got at Tifari, even the holy guardian angel that led you to the abyss, you have to let go of that too, in a way, so that you can encompass the greatness and the wholeness. So you recognize that it's like Jacob's ladder. The ladder gets you to a certain level. You have to then have the courage to kick away the ladder that brought you there. And people often get a little bit cozy with their beliefs and they feel a little, you have to be prepared to let that all go as well. So non-attachment is the key to mastery. And that includes belief. So I always say when people lose belief, it's like a vacuum is created. Now it's what you put in that vacuum that is going to determine the next phase of your evolution. And it can be useful. Like when you're a child, you learn to read and write. You learn certain basic things. When you learn about physics, you learn Newtonian physics before you learn quantum physics. And then you have to kind of kick Newtonian physics out the park in favor of a different way of looking at things. So all of these things are ways to understand and expand the universe. And sometimes we have to go through that shock of loss of belief, but it actually can be a gateway to something so much greater.
Well, it's much like the dark night of the soul, right? We have
Correct,
to,
yeah.
or they talk about addicts, having to hit rock bottom before they can really open up and blossom. Melissa, please.
So I'm just going to take what you said, Simon, and kind of jump on that bandwagon, because that absolutely is my experience regarding the dark night of the soul. It is a part of the initiatory process. It's normal. However, when we look at it from, say, for instance, I'll use the example of, I was raised Christian. I believed what I was told in church up until, my early 20s, right? And I had a complete loss of that belief. Now, what I experienced was a loss of my socialized belief that was in my ego and my linear mind, right? That's a very constricted belief. That's kind of a tied in belief system, right? And there's lots of beliefs that are in there that are not in alignment with our highest good. So in essence, when we dissolve that egoic structured linear mind that has this belief embedded in it, and all of a sudden we're in the no man's land of what is what, right? It can be very helpful to have a facilitator there holding the space, asking the questions from a non-judgmental, non-forcing, not even leading the person necessarily, but just opening, or turning over one rock at a time. What about this? What has been your experience about that? What do you feel when I ask this question? What's actually true for you regarding what you're experiencing right now in your being? Now let's expand that out a little bit more, right? And so in essence, what we're doing is that we're moving toward the being in a very loving, accepting way so that they can come into their true, authentic experience. Because when we have the experience of the divine, or whatever vibration, whatever level, whatever awakening, or even like a little bit of a nugget, right? Then we have the imprint of that experience inside of us, and no one can take it away, even a negative belief that says there is no God, because that's our experience, and we're grokking it and we're feeling it. And as we have more and more and more of those experiences, and we open the gateway to that, then we have a multitude of a landscape of experiences that no one can take it away. And this is one of the reasons why I teach the way that I teach. You know, people can disagree with me. I'm like, that's fine. Go ahead. I totally honor your free will. I know this is true because it's my experience. Blessings to you, right? And so this is how we can hold that space for that person who needs to cross that bridge.
Yeah, that bridge concept again, right? And the other part about healing that I just wanted to mention was, you know, part of what I do as well is bring up people's, this is a belief. Is this still working for you? If yes, okay, keep that one. Is this still working for you? No, that's not working for you anymore. Toss that out, right? So, yeah. Maureen, please.
The tagline I have for Inner Resonance Technologies is beyond belief, creating new realities. So it's in much the same sense of everybody's contributions here, because what is a belief system? It's something that makes sense of our world, that allows us to operate with a certain level of understanding. And then as we are evolving and going to the next level of understandings, as you know, you all said, we sometimes just need to drop away what we think we believe and all the misperceptions. And all of those are known in your field at your superconscious spiritual self. So that it's so beautiful to watch people then choose to allow all of the confusions, all of the contradictions to be sorted and shifted and released, if you will. Neutralized is a word that I use also a lot, so that the truth then can recombobulate itself and align with a different level of understanding and activation and harmony within our own selves. I find that this can happen in a beautiful, elegant way without having to go through so much of the confusion in order to get there, so that then when the techniques that you have, Melissa and Simon, are there guiding people through with the questions and the different ways that you each have to help people, it's in a cleaner access without the static of what no longer is truly relevant or necessary for people to wade through. Sometimes I refer to IRT like a power hose that mucks off all, that power hoses all the muck of the meltdown of the caterpillar, so that we can emerge more effortlessly as the butterfly, organically arising into our next ways of understanding and being and evolving ourselves, and just flying around drinking the nectar.
Beautiful. Thank you. So we're coming up to our time. I'm just wondering if I could ask each of you to just give one small piece of advice as final words for people towards their healing. One thought that you'd like to share as we finish up. Melissa?
Well, when I feel intuitively, sense intuitively into that question, I think the biggest thing that comes up is that we're being asked to move beyond just to kind of tag team what we've just been talking about, beyond our beliefs about what healing is, about what spirituality is, and literally like calming the linear mind, calming the egoic structures that say it must be like this, or it has to be like this, or I can't do this, right? All the limiting ideas, limiting energy inside of us, so that we can then bring in the higher frequencies that actually not only can stabilize this over here, but also to neutralize it, to transform it. Because as we bring in a relationship, I think that's the primary word, the relationship of our higher consciousness and the divine with that which is not, so that which is frozen or stuck in 3D consciousness or in our shadow, right? As we can bring in this loving, compassionate, present relationship and allow these aspects or these negative beliefs, these hardcore shadow pieces, as they receive this relationship, however it happens, whether it's through somatic awakening or through other modalities such as Simon and Maureen's or yours, Tanys, or whatever, right? As they come into this relationship, then they start to calm so that they can literally be transformed and we can step into more of who we are.
Thank you. And Maureen, please.
I would offer the extreme simplicity of inviting people in each moment to be in awareness, to be in presence of what is in this now moment. What do I feel? What do I need? Am I hungry? Do I need a nap? Do I need to go for a walk? What in this moment is my next way of being or self-care? That was the big question. That was a big wake-up call for me with my heart attack, self-care. And everything is within. So as we do whatever it is we need to do to be quiet within, present to our current and next need here now, it's once again the reiteration of that quote, be still and know I am. And from there, we get all our instructions. From there, in the not knowing and paying attention to every moment of what we do know, we are guided. We have something drop in, or we'll notice something differently when we can be as present. So whether that's through meditation or contemplation, or just being still with your own self, what is it in this moment?
Thank you. That's lovely. And Simon, please, final thoughts.
So for all people watching this, I'm going to say one thing. There is a higher way. There is a better way. Trust it. When you get an inkling of that, trust it. Surrender to it. Accept it and make it your life purpose to find it. It's an adventure. It's a brilliant adventure. You have it within you. Trust yourself. Trust your intuition. Develop your intuition. There is a higher way. And that higher way transcends fear. That higher way is love and will combined. True intention and love as the vehicle to manifest that intention. And you will be so amazed, because even the people around this panel have no idea how unbelievably magnificent the universe really is. We have an inkling. Just stay on the path. There is a higher way. Believe it, know it, and trust it. Surrender and be humble, because there's so much more to be revealed, and it's going to be a fantastic journey.
Exciting. Thank you. Simon, can you please share how people can get in touch with you? And we'll go around the room.
Sure. If you're interested in any of the work I do, harmonic resonance healing, all the teachings I do, You can email me, info@thegreatlifetoolkit.com. I have a clinic here in Ibiza, I work in London, and I work globally with people all over the world, helping, aligning them, and catalyzing to be the best versions of themselves when they're ready. Just hit me up.
Thank you, Simon. And Melissa, please.
So I have a healing practice. I work with people all over the world as well. You can find out more about that at somatic-awakening.com. I also have an online mystery school with multiple levels of teaching called sophiahealingacademy.com. I have an upcoming 3-day, very low fee, amazing, powerful, life-transforming event called The Homecoming, March 14th through 16th. So if you're interested in a deep dive, I invite you to check that out. sophiahealingacademy.com.
Thank you. That's awesome. And Maureen, please.
Yes, well, very simply put, MaureenEdwardson.com finds everything that I am engaged within, contact form to connect, and there's a 33-minute discovery experience, actually, a direct experience of the IRT protocol. There is currently a free download of my book, Your Magical Evolutionary Code Unleashed, The Science of Inner Resonance, which I left up for the audience today. So that is a gift. There's a tab for gifts for you, which has full-on presentations of the science with an experience thereof. There is a section called the Cosmic Chrysalis, which has new programs, one starting in April with Easter with the resurrection energies for regrowing teeth and gum, talking about the future of healing. So you can send me an email and I'd love to connect. So MaureenEdwardson.com for everything for your future greater magnificent self. I would also encourage each of us to put our links in the chat, because that will also be a place where people can just click.
We also will encourage people to go to the Beyond Being Human website, because all of your profiles are there as well with all of your contact info.
Oh, so, that's correct, isn't it? Thank you. Sorry.
And Michael, would you like to say final words, please?
Well, thank you, Tanys, and thank you everyone again. And this has really been a absolutely fascinating and wonderful, heart-filled panel. And I thank you all for being here. Wanted to also mention that Tanys and her on-screen partner, Jennifer, do support groups, as does Maureen as well. And let me quickly show you that. And this page is beyondbeinghuman.org/support-groups. And there's a bit of information, but down the side here you can book by click here to register. It'll open up a calendar and you can choose the month or whatever to the date, the specific date, and you'll get an email back with the Zoom room. And it's been going for a month and a bit now, and I think, Simon, are you still interested in becoming one of those? And so
yes, I am.
Yeah, that'll be coming online. We'll talk about that and get you on the page. And I also wanted to, let me stop share for a sec and flop over here and refresh that, and then so I would love everyone to be aware of this page. inviting new members. So beyondbeinghuman.org/inviting-new-members. It's a 60-page presentation about Beyond Being Human. Goes into more depth than you've ever seen on the website about our aims and ongoing activities and things, with some updates, as well as information about the people who are going to be included in the documentary, which we're now working more and more on, and hope to bring that to fruition over the coming year. So with that, I would like to invite Robert again, just for his final words, if he's around still. Robert, are you there? Maybe not. Okay. So I guess with that, one last kind of thing, most of what we present is for free. And lately, as everyone knows, expenses have been rising. And on the page of Beyond the Limits of Healing, there is a link for donations. And I'd greatly appreciate any little donation or big donation that you might care to contribute, because it really does make a difference. And I would love to actually give away everything. We're starting to get into a point where paid courses will start coming online, and various other events and things will also have a fee. But as much as I can, I'm going to be putting it all out there. And because I think it's important information, and this is the mission that was kind of given to me, to raise the level of conversation around all of these topics and make everyone aware of their multidimensional nature, but also nurturing our divine spark. And the last tagline that we use is choosing love always, which actually came from Michael Rhodes, who recently passed away. And anyway, thank you all again, and thank you, Tanys, and you can have the last word.
Beautiful. I thank you all for joining us on this beautiful panel. And I invite everyone out there to choose love and be open and curious as we go forward. Thank you all.